looking through a kaleidoscope. Look at all the pretty colors. I love how they keep changing.
And changing?
And changing. Pretty. Don't you change a thing. Because
SpongeBob SquarePants is next.
I'm Nick Jr.
One morning, SpongeBob was in a bed. In the day, the alarm clock made that sound of a noise. SpongeBob boofed into it. He went down. It's a door, and it's a shape like a rectangle or a square. SpongeBob was riding the one wheel. It's stupendous and splendid. And Squidward practicing playing his clarinet in Squidward's Easter Island house. And Squidward had no idea about SpongeBob where he's going. But SpongeBob was riding the one wheel. And SpongeBob goes to bowling school. He meets the fish character who is SpongeBob. He's the one and only. And Mrs. Puff looks out the window. It was SpongeBob. He was really very proud of me. And Mrs. Puff is a pufferfish. She opens the door and closes the door. Outside of Mrs. Puff's bowling school, she meets the one and only. There was SpongeBob SquarePants. And SpongeBob and Mrs. Puff is a pufferfish. They're both riding a boat car at Mrs. Puff. Like Mrs. Puff's pufferfish, like Mrs. Puff's bonus school. And Mrs. Puff said to start, it was the boat car. And poor SpongeBob spinning around of his head. And SpongeBob has to slow down. Mrs. Puff told SpongeBob to relax. It's just only the boat car. SpongeBob said the boat car. SpongeBob has to do is step on it. And Mrs. Puff said yes. And poor Mrs. Puff said, no. And SpongeBob said step on it. And then Mrs. Puff said, no. And then SpongeBob said, all right, I'll step on it. And SpongeBob keeps driving the boat car and went to right. And the green fish characters, they look to the left and to the right. They're really very surprised to say, they look to the left or to the right. And Mrs. Puff and SpongeBob Boof crashed right into it. It went down of the building like Mrs. Puff's bonus school. It was a light if it was a house. Suddenly, it's ruined. Poor Mrs. Puff is a pufferfish. She blows up like a pufferfish. And she sounds the same voice. Like Patrick voices the same voices like Patrick. And she blows up like a pufferfish and say, oh, SpongeBob, why? And so SpongeBob is in this bed at home at night in the bikini bottom of SpongeBob's Pineapple House. One night, SpongeBob is in the bed at home at night, and then he said to Gary the snail. Gary the snail said, meow. And then SpongeBob was using his head to hide under the pillow of his head in his bedroom. Someone's hiding. He listened to that sound of that noise hiding under his blanket. It was a walkie-talkie. Someone called SpongeBob. It was Patrick. SpongeBob went out of bed of his white underwear, and Patrick told SpongeBob to look inside of a door. It was a surprise, and SpongeBob went inside of a rectangle. If it was a door, SpongeBob slides down of a slide. SpongeBob opens the door and closes the door. It was Patrick. He wears his pants like SpongeBob instead of SpongeBob SquarePants. And the word Patrick and the word SquarePants instead of SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob was sitting on a chair with his walkie-talkie, and Patrick rips his pants off. It was like SpongeBob's of his pants. It was Patrick of his pants. It's green with purple bikini bottom flowers, and it's so different. And Patrick is back to normal. And suddenly, Patrick shows it to SpongeBob of his walkie-talkie inside of a hole of SpongeBob, if he's the sponge. And Patrick said hello to SpongeBob with a walkie-talkie. SpongeBob could listen to it. And SpongeBob said, wait a minute. And Patrick gives it to SpongeBob. It was a cowboy hat, which is gray. And it's beautiful and lovely. And SpongeBob looks great like a cowboy. And then there are lots of storybooks at the library of SpongeBob's Pineapples. And then suddenly, if it was Patrick looks with a telescope, if it was SpongeBob's Pineapples, he was looking at SpongeBob wearing this cowboy hat. He's in his boat car, like at Mrs. Bob's boating school. And Patrick keeps saying to SpongeBob, bat the sponge, testing, 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 testing. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, 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 testing. Testing! Ah! No, no! Do you read?
Sponge to Pat, I read you loud and clear. Over.
Got your apple ready?
And Patrick told SpongeBob the one with SpongeBob is holding an apple, which is a fruit. It's with Miss Buff. It's Buffish, like Mrs. Buff is like Mrs. Buff's boating school. And then Patrick is looking with a telescope of SpongeBob holding an apple. And Patrick says about SpongeBob wearing this white underwear with a telescope. And Patrick said,
Lucky undergarments?
and then Patrick said 2 words, hold on. And then Patrick said, bingo. It was a white underwear. And also a fruit is an apple. And Patrick is saying about to SpongeBob, he said, lucky undergarments with this finger in. And Patrick said, hold on. And Patrick used a telescope to get really, 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 very, 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 really, very, very, really, very, 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 very closer. If SpongeBob is wearing this underwear, the one with Patrick is a bingo, and that's awesome. And then Patrick is saying, you're ready to get this license. And then SpongeBob went out of a boat car. He's doing like a cowboy. He enjoying the green grass. He made himself move like a cow. And he went back inside of a boat car. And Mrs. Buff was back of the doctor. And he gives it to Miss Buff, like SpongeBob gives it to Mrs. Buff. It was a fruit. It was an apple. And poor Miss Buff has to slow down And SpongeBob said, step on it. Like, step on the gas. And Mrs. Puff said, no. And Patrick is looking with a telescope. And SpongeBob and Mrs. Puff are riding in a go-kart. Like, Mrs. Puff's like, Miss Puff's bowling school. And there was a stop sign. And SpongeBob looks to left and to right. They ride around in a circle, and Patrick keeps looking with a telescope, and SpongeBob keeps driving of a go-kart. And so, next one is Patrick is looking at a telescope, and then SpongeBob and Miss Puff driving go-kart went up and down of the hill, and Mrs. Puff was riding on the list to a pencil, and Patrick is wearing square if it was a pants instead of SpongeBob's grimace. So Patrick is holding walkie-talkie, and SpongeBob and Miss Puff riding go-kart. The one over there was an anchor, and then they jump over the anchor to the left, and then Patrick looks at what's a storybook, and there has SpongeBob in it. There, that storybook's on by me. He reads a storybook. He was real big surprised saying, and then Patrick is laugh a lot saying, and then SpongeBob and Miss Puff are driving a go-kart. They went over, went into it. It was the Ring of Fire. And SpongeBob was going walk with fish character. And then SpongeBob and Miss Puff are gonna drive in a boat car again to the left. And Patrick looks in the refrigerator in the kitchen. He enjoyed a hamburger. And SpongeBob and Miss Puff are driving a boat car, went to the left and went to the right. They drive it, went up higher and higher. They're just relaxing. They went driving up higher and higher of a boat car. And Patrick is like watching. And then SpongeBob and Miss Puff are driving a boat car. They went to the right. They're upside down. And then Mrs. Puff told SpongeBob it was splendid. And they went to the left, and they keep laughing and laughing, and Patrick's laughing and saying, and then SpongeBob told Miss Puff, and Patrick said it, and then SpongeBob said, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating. When SpongeBob took his cowboy hat off, it was a walkie-talkie. SpongeBob said, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, 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 I'm cheating, I'm cheating. And Patrick said, what? And then Patrick opened the door, closed the door. He went out of SpongeBob's pineapple house, the one he's looking with a telescope. He went back to his home of his Patrick's Rock's house. He runs away to the left. He went inside of Patrick's Rock's house. SpongeBob said, I'm sorry to Miss Puff, and poor Miss Puff said to SpongeBob, I'm going the wrong way, going the wrong way. Went left and right, left and right, left and right, or left and right, around circle. And then SpongeBob said, I'm cheating, and the word like Pierre Pumpkin. And poor Miss Puff blows up with crush and went down light of the house, and it's ruined. And the words are, like, the sentence is, a poor Miss Puff blows up saying, like above his voice of Patrick, saying, oh, SpongeBob, why? And the next one is SpongeBob said, Mrs. Puff, I think I'm cheating. And then the fish character took Miss Puff, it's a pufferfish, to go to the doctor. And SpongeBob said, see you later to Mrs. Puff. And then suddenly the words are that SpongeBob told Gary the snail, and he missed the one wheel. And also, if it was, SpongeBob is saying to Gary Snail, SpongeBob, Gary the Snail, and they said, SpongeBob said, oh, right, let's go surprise someone at the hospital. It was Miss Puff.
All right, let's go surprise someone at the hospital.
And that's the end of SpongeBob SquarePants. The episode's called Boning School. Like Mrs. Puff's Puffish, like Mrs. Puff is like Mrs. Puff's Bonus School. And I hope you like it. Thank you so very much. Right after it on Nickelodeon, it's Cat Talk. And the question I can say is,